Hey! So this is a little weird. In case you don't know me, my name is Callan Johnson. I have a YouTube channel where I talk about lots of silly, goofy subjects like trauma and childbirth, and that's pretty cool. And in the process of making this YouTube channel, that it's become like my favorite thing that I do now, I've come to realize that if I want my audience to grow, I need to upload more than once every 4 months. So, in the process, me and my friends, after a little bit of brainstorming, came up with this. This is going to be a at least semi-frequent series on the channel where I review games that I find good and worth talking about, but not quite good enough to make a whole 50-minute video essay on. And so I'm here in the middle of the fucking woods. Who knows? There's a skinwalker back there. Point back there. You see that? Shit's crazy. So what you expect, it'll be about some little short indie horror games that I like, maybe some other stuff, who knows. I think I'm just going to talk about whatever the fuck I want, honestly. I have my little script printed out here. I can do whatever I want. This is my show, after all. Do you think you can tell me what to do? Anyways, it's important to note that this is not going to replace the typical video essay format that I've been going for recently. It's just going to kind of substitute the time in between making video essays that, takes a long ass time and kind of diminishes my YouTube watch hours every time I take 4 months to upload another video. So yeah, and you can come to expect a lot of this. Down in the comments, literally fucking scream at me, demand me to review things, or you'll unsubscribe. I will do anything for more interactions. Today's video is about a funny little game I found on itch.io called C.H.A.I.N, which stands for Chronological Haunted Among Us, which stands for Chronological Haunted Anomalous Interconnected Narrative. All right? And it is one of the most cracked out things I have ever played in my entire life. Basically, what the format is you have 20 games, all made by different developers over the course of about half a year, I think is what they said on the website. And it's like a game of telephone, but with game development. It's really, really weird, and it's a wonderful format to play with. And obviously, as I was scrolling itch.io, hungry for content, like I always am, like the good content creator that I am, I stumbled upon it, and I decided, you know what? I think it's about time I start making shorter videos, and this is going to be my first subject. So, on Rock, Paper, Shotgun, they describe C.H.A.I.N as a compilation of 20 wildly varied haunt-em-ups from over 20 developers, Frankenstein together for free into a single winding narrative anthology. Okay, listen. I like the game, but there's a reason I didn't have enough willpower to make a full video essay about this. Keep in mind that as I'm talking about this and saying my various different criticisms, that it is, in fact, free. It didn't cost me anything. So just keep that in your little brain, your little fucking homunculus brain, while we dive into whatever this horrific monstrosity is meant to be. All right? All right? So this video is going to follow a format where I am going to go over individually all 20 of the games included in the C.H.A.I.N narrative. We're going to go over them. We're going to rate them on a scale from 1 to 10. And then at the end of the video, I think we're just going to try and figure out what the narrative exactly is supposed to mean. And who knows, have a little laugh, say a few final words, and wave goodbye for the night before the next time I see you. So, if that sounds good to you, we are going to get started right now. Up first, in our series of many games to come, is Torch, in all capital letters, because we're being edgy and messing with our formats here. Right off the bat, I'm giving this shit an 8 out of 10. Phenomenal first intro in the series. Gameplay, non-existent. Basically, you spawn into this little world over here, and you're just a girl. Probably like some fucking Lara Croft ripoff. And you have a torch, and you're just kind of walking around. That's it. And you walk around for a while, and then eventually you get to this funny door, and it opens, and there's light, and you walk through it and the game is over. Listen, I never said that they're going to be long, all right? I said they were going to be fucking short, all right? And when I say short, I mean short, dude. This is a wonderful first start to this series. In the best way possible, it leaves this narrative kind of open and able to be suggested. Like any good game of telephone is, you give a starting prompt that is open-ended and is able to be extrapolated upon. And whoever made this game, I'll put their name up here right now and probably a link to some of their shit, did that perfectly. It's so good. And my one complaint about it, and it's the complaint that you are going to hear about a lot in this video, is that something about the way that the camera angle works in a lot of these games and the way that the engine is messing with the way the visuals are and how you turn the camera as you walk around, I got this just fucking monstrous sense of vertigo in my head. For half of these games, I got like a crazy headache while I was playing with them for no particular reason. I don't know what it is. It might be the low resolution with the funny camera angles, but it's something, and it starts here and it doesn't end for a while. So if you struggle with something like vertigo or nausea or anything like that, or motion sickness, you might not want to play this game. But otherwise, Torch does a great job of kicking this series off, and I give it 8 out of 10. Great game. On to the next one. Up next on the roster, we have Miss Blanc. Blanc? I think it's Blanc. Anyways, kind of like the first game, it leaves a very open-ended impression with some really... It's very nicely well-written dialogue. Basically, after you come out of the cave from the first game, you are on this beach with fucking G-Man over here, I guess, and he has his back to you, and he's talking to you, and he's saying some weird, stupid shit. I don't really care. I thought it was funny. But it's just another walking simulator. Like, you just kind of follow him as he goes into the water, and he's like, make sure you hold your breath or you'll fucking die. But that's fine. Like the last one, it's open-ended, but this also starts to bring up another complaint that I have with the series, and it's that I feel like they under or overshoot with every single game that they do. You know what I mean? It's either they didn't go wacky enough with the concept like this game, or they go way too wacky with the concept like we'll see further down the line, I think on like game 11 or 12. That seems like a far away future right now, but I promise you, buddy, it's coming up soon. But basically, we just we're on the beach, and the guy talks to us and he tells us to follow him, and we follow him. He mentioned something about a trial. I don't know. I'll put up some gameplay now with some narration of what's going on.
Ah, Miss Blanc. Glad to see you've made it this far. My apologies for us having to meet this way. I'm sure you understand that these circumstances required a more elaborate route. However, I'm sure you're pleased to hear that 2 of the other participants have made it beyond this point. That's right, this isn't quite the end of the road yet. Do you know what beach we are on, Miss Blanc? Have a look around, see if you can find a landmark. That's right, it's endless beaches all the way. You'll find that this beach, in a certain way, doesn't really exist. In fact, after you stepped through that gate, you were transported to a place that's personal to you. It does all feel rather familiar, doesn't it? Endless as it may be, there is a way forward. I don't think you're going to need that torch, I assure you. Get close to me, hold your breath, and you'll be fine.
And yeah, that's kind of the deal. That's it. I give it like a... What the fuck did I give it? I gave it a 6 out of 10. It's good. It's a good second game, but it's honestly not much to scoff at. On to the next one. All right. Up next, we got the participants. All right. Again, in all caps. And this is where the artsy-fartsy factor starts kicking in. Like, I'm talking some real commie shit here. All right. Basically, we play as the guy from the end of the last game. You know, I showed the footage, the girl like drowned or whatever, but we're playing as the guy that she was following around. And it's this weird, I almost want to say like Mario Bros RPG style isometric environment, but for some reason they make it so where you have to press 2 of the directional keys at a time to go in a direction, you know, like top and then right to go that way, bottom and left to go that way, or whatever the fuck. I probably just did that wrong. That's besides the point. And it follows this guy as he's kind of walking around and encountering some funny creatures underneath the underneath the ocean. There's a point where he gets a gun and he just fucking shoots a guy. That was probably my favorite part of this one. And he walks around and he finds 3 other participants in the test that he was talking about in the second game, including our character who is currently drowning, but he says something about how she'll live and how he has faith in her, but the other 2 are basically screwed in one way or another. And it ends with him goofing up. I don't remember exactly how. I probably should have played the game before I did it. I'll put another narration up here.
I killed a participant. So, that's it. My backwards masters will be phasing out of existence. I feel it happening now. For some reason, my final thoughts turn to Miss Blanc. Has she woken up?
Yeah, and I mean, after that, it's nothing special. It's fun. Like, I at this point in the story, I was still really intrigued by the mystery. I was like, ooh, how is this going to pan out? How is this going to become the epic narrative that it promises to be? And I was a little disappointed as time went on, but for now, it's going pretty great. I give this game a 6 out of 10. Another 6 out of 10. It's solid, but nothing special, you know? On to the next one. All right, up next, we have Emerge, again in all capital letters, and if you fuck that up and you forget it, I will come to your house. Anyways, Emerge takes up right at the end of the last game after fucking G-Man gets eviscerated or whatever. He gets caught in the snap. I don't know what's going on in that one. But we reawaken as the girl that we were playing as before, who was presumably named Miss Blanc. And she's walking around this kind of underwater cave environment. It's kind of cool. It's really cool, actually. I like the idea. I like the vibes. It reminds me of like Subnautica or Barotrauma or something. And she's walking around, and there's these like copies of herself strewn about, and they're covered in some fucking suspicious goo. I don't really know what that's supposed to be about. If it's supposed to represent anything. A lot of this seems highly symbolic, but I don't have the brain power or the time, or I also don't care enough to really figure it out. But that's okay. In this game, it's another walking simulator. You just kind of walk around, da-da-da-da-da. You go through like a deep ocean trench. You go through like a canyon. You get to like an ancient civilization at one point. You get to a big lake. It's pretty cool. But my favorite part is that, like, right before the end of the game, where somehow, some way, we find ourselves in the hand of like a giant version of ourselves. And we're sitting there with the little version of ourselves in our hand, and in what is most certainly a reference to 1995's Neon Genesis Evangelion, you crush yourself in your hand, and the screen cuts to black. All right? But it has a really silly ending. You wake up, and the style completely changes. It's like full resolution, fucking 8K, 1080p, basically godsend imagery, and you're just in this dark room with like some furniture, and there's a perfectly illuminated door, and you go over to the door, and the prompt like pass the test comes up on it, and you press accept, and the game ends. That's about it. Honestly, it's nothing crazy. It's not like terribly special, but this is the first time while I was playing one of these games that I got like crazy nauseous, and I don't know why. Like I said, I think it's because of how they condensed the gameplay to be more PS1-esque instead of like actively recreating the style using certain polygons and shit. I don't know how game development works. And I understand wanting to recreate the style. This is obviously a like haunted PS1 type deal, but it makes the games really kind of off-putting, and your brain doesn't really know how to comprehend a lot of the stuff that's going on in it. And I understand wanting to recreate it, but it's hard on the eyes. And I did actually, after I finished this game, I had to like take a break and go like throw up in the toilet. Put up a picture of me doing that right here, because of how motion sick I got. But other than that, it's all right. I give that one like a 5 out of 10. It's pretty neutral, but you know, it gets a little wackier as we go on, so let's keep exploring that idea. Up next, we have my personal favorite game title in the series.
Drip.
Basically, it's like direct events after the last game. We open the door, and we're in this kind of weird asylum hallway, and there's a voice talking to us. It's like, "Congratulations. You have passed the test. Miss Blanc will come and see you shortly." I don't think they like swapped the canonicity, so where your character is no longer called Miss Blanc, and Miss Blanc is some like weird figure on the side, but whatever, it's a game of telephone, that's gonna happen. After that happens, some weird like tentacle hentai shit like crawls out of nowhere, and the guy's like, "Wait, no, stop, what are you doing?" And it like sends you into this dimension, and it's first person, and you're falling into this like paradigm of Anyways, pardon that rude interruption. After a while of just kind of falling in this weird polyagonal hell, you get to the bottom, and there's a guy, the same guy that's been yelling at you the whole time is like, "Hey, you don't know what you're doing, stop." And the game just kind of fucking ends. As you would expect, as I've mentioned with the nausea and vertigo that I get from a lot of these games, and the gameplay that this one has specifically, I get a lot of that from this one. It was genuinely hard to play through it, and whether that was intentional or not, who knows, but it was a little hard to get through, but it just ends. And overall, I give it like a 7 out of 10. It's unique, and it continues in the story in a kind of funny way, even if it messes up the initial canonicity of what names are, but that's fine. On to the next game. Up next in the saga of wacky adventures, we have what is probably the most psychedelic of the 20 in the form of Dream Aether. Now, Dream Aether is a special hell of mankind's creation. Following the events of the last game, we are now a floating head traversing many different environments from antiquity. I believe it's like you start in ancient Egypt, and then you're in like some weird abstract numbers dimension, like the fucking void from SpongeBob or whatever. And then after that, yeah, I think the last one was boring. It was boring enough that I don't really remember it. Here's a picture of it now. But it's just fine, and you're floating around, and you have these like rocket controls, like fucking, I felt like I should have got a little joystick out and played some War Thunder, you know, twisting around and shit. And it's pretty fun, honestly, and this is the first game in the series that has voice acting. That's right, you heard it right here, folks. There is voice acting in this one, and it's the same thing as the last game, where it's just kind of like, "You don't know what you're doing. Miss Blanc is going to be angry at you. Don't stop at whatever cost." And it's fine. Like I didn't get as much vertigo from this. I actually didn't get any. It was relatively easy on my head, but overall, it's kind of pointless. I mean, you're just flying around and collecting red orbs, and then you touch a big orb, and then it fades to the next area, and you do that 3 times, and the guy the whole time is like, "Hey, you should stop doing what you're doing." And then you do it 3 times, and after that, you get this cutscene of your head like reconnecting with your body, and the guy is like, "All right, well, your fucking choice. You can do whatever you want to do, but if I were you, I wouldn't be doing this, you will never survive out there." It's the typical like Matrix shit, and I kind of really like that narrative that you're like trying to escape the Matrix one layer at a time from whatever that basic starting point is. And it does actually connect later at the end, and I'll give them that. And it's really good. It's a really good way to connect into the next kind of segment of storytelling. And overall, I give it a 6 out of 10. Like, it's all right. It's pretty good. And I guess on to the next one. All right. Number 7 on the list was the game that I was most excited for initially seeing the trailers for it, called Ball Out. May I repeat, it is called
Ball Out.
And I saw it while looking at the trailer for the game, and it looked very particular to me because it has the same vibe as, like, LSD Dream Emulator or Roly Poly no Nanakarobi just anything by, hold on, I wrote down the guy's name. Osamu Sato is the guy's name. Here's a beautiful picture of him. And it just had that early PS1 feel, like really truly well-created early PS1 feel. And I really like that. That's a vibe that I have a lot of nostalgia for, watching YouTube and emulating stuff on my computer as a small child. Anyways, Ball Out sees our character from the last game with their head reconnected with their body, stuck in a ball. And in what is a monkey ball style hell, we have to roll around and help some mysterious entity collect lost souls and then return back to the starting point. And as much as the vibes of this one were really entertaining to me, the gameplay is fucking ridiculous. Your balls have too much momentum to them, and so if you pick up the speed even a little bit, you can't like back up and stop yourself, and you just fly off the edge. And honestly, like, it's fine. It makes you take it slow and keeps the darker atmosphere there, but a small part of me wanted to just go full monkey ball and fucking speed run it and not even blink at any of the stages and just get it done as fast as possible. And outside of that, it's pretty notable. I like the vibe of it, and I think it's probably... I was the most excited for it, and that might be attributing to my bias here, but it really is one of the better games. Yeah, and the PS1 recreation graphics just give this really bizarre psychedelic emotion to it, and honestly, it's probably like my second favorite in the series so far, and I'm gonna give that one like a 6 out of 10. It's pretty good. Alright, up next is probably, I guess, the most boring game of all of them, and that's not a bad thing. I really do like this next one, but this next one, number 8, is question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. And after our little character from the last game breaks out of his ball, it is revealed that not only is our character a she and not a he, so they kept that. They kept that canonicity. It's still a female. But they are now attached by like a weird umbilical cord to it and are forced to like drag it around in this weird pool of blood maze thing with checkerboard walls like we're fucking Five Nights at Freddy's or some shit. Anyways, this one's pretty simple. It's like the most basic Unity game you've ever seen in your entire life. You walk around, you press a button, you attack the enemies, these weird worm things that look like the sand monsters from Majora's Mask. It's nothing that crazy. I do, however, really appreciate the vibe of this one and the way that the characters are designed. It reminds me a lot of Lost in Vivo, which, to anybody who has been watching my channel for a while, you know that that is a game that I appreciate immensely. It just feels very rusty and industrial and kind of raw in the way that it presents itself. The main complaint that I have with this video is... The main complaint that I have with this game is that if you get touched, like, you know, just even like stroked a little bit by one of the enemies, you kind of just fucking die immediately and have to restart over again. And like, I'm... instant death. And I like to think I'm pretty good at video games, but I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that this took me like 3 tries to get right. I don't know, for some reason the gameplay just didn't click with me and it took me a bunch of tries, but in the end we reach this like buzzsaw thing that's coming out of the floor and we separate ourselves from the steel ball that we're connected to by the umbilical cord, and we just kind of dive into this weird like Mario 64 black picture frame, and the game ends there. Honestly, it's pretty good. I give that one like a 7 out of 10. It's very complete. It didn't give me a headache, and yeah, it's overall, it's just all around pretty good and solid, and it continues the narrative. On to the next one. All right, up next, we have what is probably the biggest piece of shit I have ever played in my entire life. It's called Swell. It's number 9 on the list, and it's just god awful, all right? You spawn in, you are a little blob, all right? You are just a blob, like a symbiote. We're out here smoking straight symbiotes, dude. And you're just kind of rolling around and touching shit and swelling. And that on its own is not a bad concept, but the way that it is executed is so unbelievably infuriating. The vibe that it tries to get off is that you're like an underwater, like single-celled organism trying to grow and collect the stuff around it, kind of like Spore or whatever, but it does it in a really shitty way where you have some weird gravity to you and the angle is bad and the camera is bad and the shrunken PS1 graphics just gave me the most mind-breaking headache. And you're rolling around, and honestly, it is random luck, if you manage to get anywhere or win the game, and if you get swallowed by another one of the many little blob guys that are rolling around, it just says consumed. Send you back to the start. I fucking hate it. It's not that good. In the end, it just says whatever that is. It's not satisfactory, all right? It's really not a good game. And whoever made it, I'm putting their name up right here. I'm coming for you. I'm going to find you. And when I do, it isn't going to be pretty. On to the next game. Up next, we have a game that I was very initially excited about when I started this game initially, and I flipped through all the different games in the main menu. It's called Organ of Eden, which is enough to get me excited. Too bad that it's not that great. Following the line of logic from the last game, our little blob man has grown into a funny little spider dude in this secret laboratory where the scientists are like injecting shit into you, and it's crazy, it's wacky. And in an act of rage, we break out of our containment and we go and we start eating the scientists. And that's pretty much the whole game. Like, you just walk around and you jump on the scientists and you press, they stay still. They don't move or run away or anything. It's like they want it to happen. And they just kind of stay still and don't really do anything, and you jump and you attack them. You grab them and you eat them up. And honestly, it's all right. I got pretty bad vertigo from this one also, just because of the way that it's shot and framed. Something about it just hurt my head. But as you start breaking your way more and more out of containment, like this weird Bible storm starts swirling around and like shit's getting crazy, and you're still eating scientists and walking around, and nothing happens until you see like a lemur in the corner. I'm putting up a picture of it right now. There's just a lemur in the corner, and you walk over to it and a door opens and you go through the door, and then before you can look at the lemur, it fades to white. And it's just over. I have nothing to say about this one. I genuinely have no idea what to say about this, and honestly, it's mid. It's fine. Whatever. It works. Whatever. Continuation of the story. 5 out of 10. Fucking, we're moving on to the next one. Well, hey there. We're in a new spot now. If you want to support me and help me do the things I want to do, there is now a link to my Patreon in the description of this video and on the description of the channel. It's very cool. All of it is publicly available. Okay, I shouldn't say all of it. Most of the stuff on there is publicly available through stuff like my Instagram, which is also now in the description of the channel and in the description of the video. But if you want to support me and you want to help me make more videos like these and do cool things like this, drop me a couple dollars. All of it, 100% of the Patreon is going to go towards channel-specific stuff, equipment, computer software, that sort of thing. So if you want to help support me and do more cool stuff like this, go check out the Patreon. Donate if you can. We're playing around with the idea of doing a Discord, maybe. Let me know if you want to do that. It'd be public, not a Patreon exclusive, but, you know, it'd be pretty cool. And with that out of the way, back to the video. Up next on our list, game 11, is called, it's called Day 11, and this game is the point in the story where I started to lose track a little bit. Up until now, we've been kind of following this continuative narrative, as is in the advertisement for the game. But as you're about to see, I don't really understand how this one connects back to the last game, back to Organ of Eden, but that's really besides the point. Day 11 sees you, our little character, who I don't know if we're like the same monster thing from the last game or whatever, but we roll up to what is probably some sort of wooded area and or national park in a van, presumably with some crosses in the back of our van based on what's about to happen, and we wander around in the woods for a while following these eerie red lights in the distance until we reach certain wells, and then we build crosses around them and say some fucking prayers or something. I don't know what's up on screen now, whatever they say. And it's like the rest of this, it's basically just a walking simulator, but I will admit, it had me on edge a little. It had me on edge. It scared me, all right? I was afraid. like I am right now. There's wendigos in these woods. As we walk around and continue placing crosses everywhere, after we get to what I think is the third well, your character is like, I should go to the cave now. And suddenly there's another red dot that's over there in the distance with a cave. And you can go to it. The first time I tried to play this game, I did try to go there, but I fucked up. And as I have an extreme tendency of doing, I broke the game. I walked off a corner of the map that I was not supposed to go to, and I just fell through. Like in Minecraft, when you break bedrock, that shit was bananas, and I had to start over again, and that sucked because it's just a walking simulator. But anyways, as we go into the cave, the effects in the screen start getting brighter and redder, and it's blah, 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 and then it cuts to black, and then you wake up again, and you're deeper in the cave, and you're surrounded by these red eye things going on around you, and they're all just kind of looking at you. I don't remember if there's text on screen or not. There's text on screen up here or not right now, but it was kind of scary. It was decently scary. The atmosphere was good, but much like a lot of the other games in this, there was this sort of it's the way the camera works or the way that the filters compress the graphics, but it gave me like a really bad headache. And I had to stop playing after this for a bit. This is where my initial session stopped, and I went and I took a break for a couple days before I came back to it. But overall, vibes are good. It's pretty all right. It is literally just a walking simulator. It doesn't feel like it has a lot of effort into it, and it basically just changes the story and doesn't really continue with it at all like it's supposed to. So it's getting like a 4 out of 10. I don't fucking know. On to the next game. Up next on Game 12, I am going to ask you to look away, to avert your eyes if you would, because that is the title of the game. Starting off and continuing with the last game, we load in, and I was immediately thrown off because there's like a big YouTube play button in the center of the screen, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? But if you move your mouse over there and you click on it like you're supposed to, it starts the game. And I guess what it's trying to be is this sort of found footage early cell phone recording of whatever the game is trying to show us, which we'll get into here in a second. Before I say that, I will say that this is probably my favorite game in the collection. It actually scared me. I was decently afraid. My heart rate was up. And it starts with our character who is saying some shit like, oh, there's this fucking weird cave by my house, and every now and then I gotta go and clean it out. Whatever that means. And we have like a flamethrower, like it's Vietnam or something, and we're firebombing the countryside. And as we're going through the cave, those big eye things from earlier from the last game are around, and you set them on fire, and they scream, and they make this horrific noise. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like a cat, a semi-truck, and a 12-year-old girl are all being burned alive at the same time. It's really, really, like, sickening. It's nauseating, actually, but it's a very decently made screaming sound effect. And as you continue down into the cave and you burn more and more eyes, eventually, you know, he does some more talking, blah, 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 blah. We'll put a narration of that up right now. And as we get deeper and deeper into the cave, there start to be these crosses with people on them. And your character starts talking about, like, oh, maybe these sacrifices will be enough. Okay, dude. And in case those poor crucified bastards weren't already in enough pain, you set them on fire too, and they start screaming. And I laughed at that. That was actually really funny. I'm fucked in the head. I don't know what's going on with me. But you just continue deeper and deeper into the cave, and it gets darker and darker, and there's more of these people on crosses, and you set them on fire, and there's more eyes, and you set them on fire. And eventually you get to the end of the cave, and the guy's like, finally, a job well done. I hope that the eyes find another tragedy to look at. Okay, dude. Okay, you fucking psycho. Whatever you say. And then after he says that, the video just ends. Like, it stops like an actual shitty YouTube, like, 2006 video would. But it freaked me out. It was actually scary. You can hear it in the initial recording. I'm like, oh. Ooh. Zoink Scoob, this is a little rough, but I don't know. It's a good game. It's my favorite in the collection because it did actually do what it initially promised. It scared me. So, for that, it's going to get a 9 out of 10. And just like the game in question, we are going to abruptly stop. Up next at number 13, we have what is also probably another one of my favorites, is, basically, in what is seemingly a direct continuation of the last story, we are a character floating through this weird static void with all these, like, like end dimension pillars around, you know. I kept thinking there was going to be like some end crystals up there and I'd have to shoot them down to get the dragon. That's not the case. And you're just kind of moving perpetually forward through this weird static dimension. And as you are, the eyes from the 2 previous games fade in and they're like, and it's really funny. And you keep going, and the static messages from the game get, like, a little clearer, and they're like, do you know what you've done? Do you know what you're gonna do, Stinky? You're obviously pretty dumb and stupid. And you just keep kind of stay with me through the static dimension. It's really fun, actually. Shockingly, this is one of the few games on the list that didn't give me a headache of any kind. So that's a plus. That's contributing to its place on this list. And as you keep going, it gets to the end, and the eye kind of zooms in and is like, good job, stupid. Now we're free. We're in the real world now. And then it just kind of ends. That's it. Like all of these games, it just kind of ends. It's all right. I mean, like, it's okay. The lights are burning a hole in my corneas. I can't read my script anymore. I give this one a 6 out of 10. It gives off a similar feel to Ball Out, where there is this kind of early PS1 low-quality style, and not like how they're trying to do it in a lot of these games. They're trying to make it a PS1 game in most of these. They really do emulate the style well with this one, and I appreciate that, but it's short, not really much onto it. On to the next one. Up next... I'm not even going to try to talk about this one. For some godforsaken reason, it just didn't work on my computer at all. I don't know why. Maybe it's an issue with my monitor. Maybe it's an issue with fucking, I don't know, the 10 million little goblins that live inside my PC. But for whatever reason, this one wouldn't work. So I can't really judge it. From what I've seen, I went and I watched like a little playthrough of it online. It doesn't seem that technically impressive. It kind of seems like those games that you'd play as a small child on the App Store that cost like $3.99, but were just one. It's like a Maze Runner ripoff. You're running around and you're looking for books. And I think it's trying to follow the story of the last game where the eyes are like, we broke free. We're out of the real world. You have to. But it doesn't really work out that great. Apparently, I like I said, I never played the game, so I can't judge it. So it's not going to be ranked anywhere on the list. It's a out of 10. But that's about it. I can't say much else. We're moving on to the next one and pretending like this didn't happen. I would hope that, given the content of my channel, that most people watching right now were alive during the Slender Man craze of like 2012, 2013. That was a wonderful point in YouTube and game development history. Really, it renovated the market, and just the stocks went brr, brr, brr. I made millions of dollars in Slender Man stocks that year. And this game, number 15, which is just called 15 apparently. I forgot about that. It's very, very similar to the original Slender Man game. You spawn in and your character says something about needing to locate 8 books, which is presumably a reference to the last game. And as you walk around, I think what they wanted it to be like was there are multiple Slender Man chaser type enemies following you through the woods. But as you can see up here, it's more like fucking Baldi's Basics than anything, because they're not actually 3D objects, I don't think. I think that they're just PNGs of these weird eye things, like from the last game. And don't fucking giggle at me. Are you fucking serious? Are you fucking kidding me right now? Yeah, it's just kind of like PNGs following you around, and I will admit that they scared me. they frightened me. They startled me even a little bit. I jumped when I saw them at first, just because they are genuinely off-putting, but they're not that threatening, and as long as you just kind of walk in the opposite direction as them, you're going to be fine. It's relatively easy to find the 8 notes hidden around. They all say the same thing. It's not even like they have unique dialogue sprinkled about. But if I remember correctly, I was looking at the comments of a channel that uploaded a video of this game, and the guy that made it said, like, he apparently he just had a wonderful time playing, making it, and honestly, that's all that matters. The game has a good energy to it. It reminds me a lot of those old Unity asset flip games that you'd find in the earlier days of YouTube, where it's just kind of like some textures and some set events and some jump scare noises and some stock sound effects put together with some cryptic writing to make a game. You know, you remember like Nox Time or whatever Markiplier played the fuck out of I love those games. They're asset flips, but I love those games. They're really fun. And in the end, that's all that matters. This game is fun, and it creates a good base for the next game, which I also happen to really like. So this one is going to receive a 7 out of 10, above average. Good job to whatever dev made this game. Up next, following in the same vein as the last game, 15, titled 15, and was also the 15th game, this is the 16th game, also titled 16. I'm assuming after what is a direct escape from the eye guys from the last game, our character has found him, them, they, self, herself in a cabin with some ritualistic books and the books that they had from the last game, and they drew a ritual circle on the floor, and they're trying to perform some kind of magic seance. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool vibe. It matches what's going on so far. Maybe they're trying to steal the eyes away. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But the gameplay in this one sees us walking around in the garden outside the house, collecting herbs, going back inside, confronting one of the books that we managed to find, and corresponding the places of the herbs in the book on the ritual circle in the book to the places of the herbs in the book on the ritual circle in the book to the ritual circle in real life. And it's fun. Honestly, it's a pretty good puzzle. It got me. It took me like 3 tries to get it. It's a pretty decent puzzle. Obviously, you have as many tries as you need, I think, but it's a pretty good game. And it does a really good job of creating a vibe. Kind of like the last game, it feels a little low effort. That's not a bad thing. These games were made each over the course of like 2 weeks. I don't know, fucking do the math, assuming they all took the same amount of time up here. 6 months of development time total, divided by 20. Can one of you do that? Do you... 6 divided by... How many weeks are in 6 months?
24?
24 weeks in 6 months?
No. Hold on. 24, yeah.
24? 24 weeks?
Divided by 20 is, 1 point... Fucking, I don't know. What?
1 point something. They each had roughly 1.5 weeks to make these games, which is impressive. That's impressive. I couldn't make this in 1.5 weeks. I can barely make this fucking video in a couple days. So, you know what? Applause to them. Great time. The game ends, you perform your little blood ritual, blah, 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 everything's going great, except, shock, horror, you turn around, and the eye guys from the last game are behind you, and the game ends. And honestly, it's perfect. That's all it needs to be. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing special, but it's good. 7 out of 10. Above average. Great game. On to the next one. Up next on the list is probably my second least favorite game in the entire collection. Veil by this game developer, who is presumably Japanese, given the Japanese text associated with this game and their logo and da da da. But anyways, in what is probably a direct continuation of the last game, which we're on a roll for a while. You know, look back, it wasn't a lot of direct continuations. This is one character from one point to another. I'm impressed by it, to be perfectly honest with you. We are now in some sort of magical fairy tale wonderland dimension, and the gameplay in this one, it's literally you just walk around. It's not like the last ones where you walk around and something happens. You just walk around, and every now and again you'll find a fucking book on the floor, and you look at the book and you press a button, I think. I don't really remember. It'll tell you up here if you press a button or not. Aww. And the book goes, and it transforms into like an Autobot. No, it just like does some ritual like rune shit and then disappears. And after like 3 minutes of walking around, maybe, at the slowest pace imaginable, by the way. This guy has a bum leg, dude, because he is limping, he is crawling, okay? It's like the guy's like, something's after me, and you turn around and there's this like weird, whatever the fuck that's supposed to be, and it's just coming towards you at the slowest speed it possibly can, and you have forever to catch up. You have forever to wait for it to get to you. You get to watch with every second as it creeps closer and closer to you. And then it catches you, and you're in this like weird red fucking Minecraft nether space while the credits roll. And by the credits, this game was made by one person. By the credits, I mean the dude's logo shows up and like a couple names show up, and then it just ends. Whatever. It's fine. I feel like you could have done a lot more given the foundation that the last game gave you, but whatever. It's okay. It's fine. It's not as bad as Swell. It's not as bad as Swell, but it's still pretty bad, and I don't know, like a 3 out of 10. I'm kind of disappointed. Do better next time. On to the next game. Do you remember way back at game number 12, I think it was, Avert Your Eyes, when I said that that was my favorite game in the collection? I fucking lied to you. I just straight up fucking lied to you, because my real favorite game in this collection is number 18, Scary Library. Fucking 10 out of 10 award. Best game I have ever played, alright? Starting off, based storyline. Probably the most emotionally in-touch and in-depth thing I've ever read in my entire life. You are this man, and in the process of being this man, you catch yourself outside in the rain. It's pretty funny. And you go into the aforementioned spooky library, scary library. And you talk to the librarian lady, and she's like, yeah, you can wait the rain out in here, but just, like, go fucking do something else. I'm trying to read. And you go and you you make your little goblin way around the library, and when you get back, shock! Horror! She's gone. The librarian lady's gone. Ooh, you know what I mean? And you're walking around and you find a note and you're like, whoa, dude, that's crazy. I just picked up a piece of paper. And, oh, the librarian lady comes back around the corner, but it's not her. It's like the bitch from the SpongeBob movie, the ice cream bitch. You know what I'm talking about. She has the librarian's torso on top, but it's like a crab monster. It's like a spider monster. And it's crawling around and it's chasing you at a snail's pace. And you just kind of got to walk around, collect the 8 pages. It is actually just fucking Slenderman. it is actually just Slenderman. That's besides the point. You go and you collect the 8 pages, and you go back and you talk to the lady, and you're like, wow, I'm so sorry that book you were reading turned you into a scary monster. And she's like, nah, don't worry about it, Chief. And it just ends there. 10 out of 10. Best game. Best fucking game I've ever played. I don't think I need to elaborate. I don't think I need to talk on it more. We're moving on. We're moving on to the next one. Up next, our second to last game is Abraxas. Abraxas is mid. Like, it's alright. Like, it's not that bad, but it's whatever. The narration starts, the game starts. I guess it somehow continues from the last game. This is another case where it literally just fucking completely jumps ship and is not even about the same thing as the last one anymore, but whatever. We start, and our character's narrating, they're like, I need to find the book that Dad told me to find so I can stop the world from ending and I can stop the coming apocalypse. And you walk into what is presumably the same scary library from the last game. And you walk around, and there's these tall, like, Gru from Despicable Me looking motherfuckers patrolling the halls like it's some sort of Russian gulag. But it's honestly, they kind of scare me, like, actually a little bit. They freak me out. Anyways, I stopped trying to make sense of this a while ago. You go into the library, you grab the book, you leave, and the guy's like, I got the book. Maybe I'll be able to stop the world. Dad told me that I would be able to, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like a pan of you, a first-person view of you moonwalking outside down the street. There's like this big angel thing in the background. And you get closer, and the angel moves and does some crazy shit, and he does gestures around. And it's fine. It's okay. It's whatever. I'd want a little bit more creativity in a game like this personally, but, 1.5 weeks. It's whatever. It's fine if it's mid. That's okay. On to the final game. Finally. We're here. We've reached the end. All 20 games, all put together and culminating in this final hodgepodge of what I'm assuming is supposed to be a video game. Following the same character from the last game, I'm presuming, we wake up inside the big demon angel thing that's going on in the sky behind us, and you can see something in the distance. We're on this, like, red bridge, and you can see something in the distance, and there's all these, like, guys T-posing and Fortnite dancing, and they're floating above you in circles. It's fucking crazy, man. And you're, like, crawling towards crawling on the floor, trying to reach the end of the bridge. And you get there, and you stop, and there's just this guy there, like, smoking, and he starts talking to you, and he says something along the lines of this.
I have to say, I'm impressed you made it this far. Reliving your death over and over again is not a weight many souls can carry. You endure the fear and pain from each cycle, in hopes of postponing humanity's end. Prolonging your suffering to delay that of others is respectable. But we both know it's nothing more than a fool's errand. What is inevitable cannot be stopped. But I do enjoy watching you try. See you again soon, friend.
And did I mention this game is called 999? I don't know if it's supposed to be 999 or 9,090,000 or 9,999,000.
You said 6 nines?
Yes. Six nines.
That's 999,999.
Do you think you're fucking better than me?
Yeah.
And after that brief interaction, one-sided conversation thing, this number shows up on screen in red on a black background, and it goes up one number to 999,999. And as it does, and it fades back out, we open again in a cave with a torch in our hand. And presumably from there, the cycle begins again, over and over and over, in this forever loop, on and on and on and on. This game does actually have 2 endings. I got it on accident on my second playthrough of this game, gathering some footage. I don't know if that is specifically how it is triggered, if playing through all the other games again does it. But you, instead of the ending where, you know, he's like, all right, see you next time, gamer, he says that, congratulations, you did it enough times, 1 million is enough, and yeah, you're set free and the cycle is over. So, okay, I guess this is a long recording. I guess that's it, and that's the end of C.H.A.I.N. We're set free from the cycle, it's over. What's it all supposed to mean? I don't know. I think we were caught in some kind of weird Russian sleep experiment type deal, where our character, and I guess by proxy the entire human species, based off of this dialogue over here, has been caught up in this forever loop of being experimented on and observed, and at the end, I guess we're done with it, and yeah, we're set free. So that was C.H.A.I.N. All right, that's it. It's over. We made it. We made it to the end of the however long this video is supposed to be. it was a blast. Even though C.H.A.I.N is not the best of games that I've played, you know, a lot of it could have been executed better. In the end, it is definitely worth my time. It was free, it's worth your time. I'd recommend you go play it. There's not a single thing wrong with it. It's a fun little art project, and that's all it needs to be. If you, yes you, right there, the viewer, have suggestions for what we should do in the future, let us know. Go talk to us in the comments. I'll respond. I respond to every single comment because I'm lonely and I have no life. But that doesn't mean anything right now. Just a reminder, I have an Instagram now. Go look at it. It'd be cool if you went and followed. If you want to support me, do whatever you want. There's also a Patreon now. Go check it out. But that's it. And I'm hoping that you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Seriously, we've been recording this over the past 2 days. We're out here in the woods. It's fun. It's great. We're having a great time. I'm freezing my ass off. I have hypothermia and 16 other health disorders, but it's all right in the end. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. And bye-bye. All right. We're done. And this number shows up on screen.
Hold on. What the fuck was that? Something just fell out of the tree right there just now.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
In front of the
Shut
camera.
up,
I
shut
think
up,
that's
shut
on
up, shut
camera,
up, shut up.
actually.
Caught in 4K? Cryptid in real life? 10 red circles right there. Dabinky spotted. Skibbity toilet in real life. Twerking emoji? Are you fucking kidding me right now, dude? We caught that? On camera? I don't see shit.
I think it was a pine cone.
I think you're crazy as well.
I think it was a pine cone.
I think you're crazy.
You
I
cannot
think you're
gaslight
fucking
me.
crazy. I think you're fucking bananas.
Get back in your chair, video boy.
Get back in the chair, weather boy!